Welcome back. Tonight, we descend into the cold, black depths of the North Sea, where a steel ghost slept for 70 years, a submarine lost in silence, her crew entombed within, her name erased by time. This is the story of the ghost U-boat, the German submarine that vanished in the final days of World War II, and was only found decades later, still haunting the sea that swallowed her whole. In the spring of 1945, the Third Reich was collapsing. Allied forces were pushing deep into Germany, cities lay in ruins, and the proud U-boat fleet that once terrorized the Atlantic was dying, hunted relentlessly by British destroyers and American aircraft. Among the last of these doomed wolves was U-864, a Type IXD-2 long-range submarine under the command of Corvettenkapitän Ralph Reimar Wolfram. But this was no ordinary mission. U-864 carried a deadly secret. Her cargo was codenamed Operation Caesar, 67 tons of mercury and advanced military technology destined for Japan, Nazi Germany's last ally. The mercury would be used in the production of weapons and guidance systems, meant to prolong a war that was already lost. On February 6, 1945, U-864 set out from Bergen, Norway. But Allied intelligence had cracked the Enigma codes. They knew she was coming. Waiting in the icy waters near Fedge was a British submarine, HMS Venturer, commanded by 25-year-old Lieutenant James Launders. What followed was one of the most extraordinary duels in naval history, the only recorded instance of a submarine sinking another submarine while both were submerged. For hours, Launders tracked the faint echoes of U-864 through his hydrophones, listening as the German boat changed speed and course, trying to avoid detection. It was a deadly game of patience and mathematics, played in total darkness, under immense pressure, with death just a torpedo away. Finally, Launders calculated her position and fired 4 torpedoes. The fourth struck home. U-864 was torn apart by a massive explosion, her cargo of mercury scattering through the depths. All 73 men aboard were killed instantly. The sea closed over the wreck, and for 70 years, no one knew where exactly she lay. Only whispers remained, of a ghost submarine filled with poison and secrets, sleeping beneath the waves. Decades later, Norwegian researchers scanning the seabed near Fedge detected strange metallic echoes, and traces of mercury leaking from the mud. In 2003, they found her. There she was, resting 150 meters down, split in two, her hull eerily intact, her torpedo tubes still loaded. Inside, the air was trapped, frozen in time since 1945. Engineers and divers realized the truth. The mercury cargo was still there, slowly seeping into the ocean, threatening the environment even after 7 decades. U-864 had become not just a war grave, but a ticking time bomb beneath the sea. Today, the wreck remains sealed off under layers of rock and sand, entombed once again, both to honor the dead and to contain the poison they carried. The ocean has claimed her, but the ghost of U-864 still lingers in the cold waters of the North Sea, a silent reminder that even in death, war leaves its scars. Her story is one of secrecy, tragedy, and irony. A weapon meant to prolong destruction became, itself, an eternal danger. The ghost submarine that time forgot now rests in peace, or perhaps, still waits, her steel heart beating quietly in the dark, beneath the endless weight of the sea. For decades, the sea guarded its secret. Fishermen near Fedge spoke of strange readings on their sonar, of nets torn on something vast and metallic beneath the waves. They didn't know it, but they were sailing over a coffin, one that held not only 73 souls, but the last breath of a dying empire. When Norwegian authorities finally confirmed the discovery in 2003, it sent shockwaves through Europe. The sonar images showed a submarine lying on its side, its hull broken in two like a cracked shell, but remarkably well preserved. U-864 was back, and her story was far from over. When divers first descended into the darkness, they found the wreck eerily silent, the water cold and still. Their lights swept across the steel hull, revealing the faded insignia of the Kriegsmarine still visible on her conning tower. The torpedo tubes were sealed, the propellers half buried in silt. Inside, the mercury cargo had corroded, leaking from shattered steel flasks. Clouds of silver droplets shimmered in the beams of light, beautiful and deadly, suspended in the water like ghosts of the men who once served there. Environmental scientists realized the danger immediately. The seabed around U-864 had become one of the most toxic zones in the North Sea. The mercury levels were thousands of times higher than normal. If disturbed, the wreck could release enough poison to devastate marine life for generations. But disturbing her also meant disturbing a war grave, the final resting place of men who never came home. Debate raged for years. Should they raise the wreck, or bury it forever? Engineers calculated, governments argued, and families of the dead demanded peace. In the end, Norway made its choice, to entomb the submarine beneath a thick layer of sand and rock, sealing it away forever. In 2019, the operation began. Massive ships poured gravel, sand, and concrete over the wreck, slowly erasing her outline from the sonar maps once again. U-864 disappeared for the second time. Today, she lies under 100,000 tons of stone, invisible to the world above. But she's still there, silent, sealed, and waiting. Her mercury cargo remains entombed, her crew still asleep in the dark. The sea no longer whispers her name, but the story of U-864 has become legend, a tale of ambition, secrecy, and fate. She began as a weapon of war, and ended as a monument to the dangers mankind leaves behind. If you sail over that patch of ocean now, the water looks calm, ordinary, unremarkable. But beneath it lies a time capsule of 1945, a ghost of iron and mercury, a warning from history itself. The war ended long ago, but U-864 is still fighting, not with torpedoes, but with silence. She reminds us that nothing in war truly disappears, it just sinks, and waits, in the cold. Even now, decades later, the story of U-864 refuses to fade, as if the ocean itself cannot let go of her secret. The seabed where she rests has become a forbidden zone, marked on charts with warnings and silence. No fishing, no diving, no anchoring, just an empty patch of sea that hides a shadow of the past. Sailors who pass over it say their instruments flicker strangely, as if something deep below still hums with life. Some call it superstition, others call it respect, but no one lingers long above the grave of the ghost submarine. Historians often say U-864 is the perfect symbol of the war's final madness. Her mission was meant to link two dying empires, Germany and Japan, by delivering technology and poison across half the world. But she never made it out of the North Sea. Her destruction ended Operation Caesar and with it, one of the last desperate hopes of the Axis powers. The irony is haunting. The submarine built to spread death became a weapon that continues to endanger the living, even 3 generations later. In Bergen, where she began her last journey, there's a small memorial now, a simple granite stone inscribed with the names of the crew. Most were barely in their 20s. They were not villains, just sailors following orders, trapped by history. For their families, the decision to leave the wreck undisturbed was a painful mercy. They wanted their sons to rest, not be torn from the sea that had held them so long. The story of U-864 has become more than a tale of war, it's a lesson in legacy. Every weapon built, every secret mission launched, leaves something behind. Sometimes it's victory. Sometimes it's ghosts. In U-864's case, it's both. The men are gone, the submarine buried, but the mercury still bleeds into the earth, a slow reminder that even the most powerful machines of war can't escape the consequences of their creation. As the currents sweep over her sealed tomb, U-864 sleeps in perfect darkness. The world above has moved on, new wars, new technologies, new oceans to cross, but she remains, untouched and unforgotten, the last breath of a dying empire held forever beneath the sea. And maybe that's how she should stay, silent, hidden, watching, a ghost not of glory, but of warning. Beneath the cold pressure of the North Sea, where sunlight never reaches and sound fades into eternity, U-864 rests in her second burial, her hull wrapped in sand, her secrets locked behind steel and stone. Decades of silence have not erased her presence, they've only deepened it. The ocean floor around her has become strangely still, as if even nature itself recognizes that something unnatural sleeps there. Every now and then, a faint tremor or sonar echo reminds scientists that the wreck is still changing, that metal corrodes, that mercury seeps, that time does not forgive. And yet, there's something hauntingly peaceful about her resting place. The currents swirl gently around the mound that hides her, carrying away particles of silt and memory. Small fish drift through the invisible boundary, unaware that just beneath them lies a relic of one of humanity's darkest chapters. They swim past the cold steel of the past, untouched by its meaning, a quiet reminder that life continues, even above the ghosts of war. In museums and history books, U-864 is remembered as a technical marvel and a tragedy, a machine of precision and ambition, defeated by another submarine in one of the rarest encounters in naval history. But to the divers and engineers who have seen her face through the sonar scans, she's more than a relic. She's a warning, a reminder of what happens when human brilliance serves destruction instead of creation. Every war leaves behind its ruins, its scars, its echoes. U-864 carries all three. The steel hull that once sliced through the Atlantic now lies still, the mercury that once promised power now poisons quietly beneath the waves, and the men who once dreamed of victory now sleep in an oceanic graveyard. Together, they form a story that never truly ends, because the consequences of war never simply disappear. They sink, and they wait. Today, if you look out over the calm, gray waters of Fedge, there is nothing to see, just wind, mist, and waves. But beneath that surface lies a time capsule of 1945, a steel tomb filled with ambition, tragedy, and silence. U-864 remains there, not as a weapon, not as a relic, but as a message from the deep, that every secret eventually surfaces, every empire eventually falls, and every war leaves behind ghosts that the sea will remember long after men have forgotten. And so, the story of U-864 ends where it began, in silence, beneath the cold gray waves of the North Sea. The submarine that once carried the ambitions of an empire now lies motionless in her second grave, her steel body sealed beneath mountains of stone, her secrets forever trapped within. Time has turned her from a weapon into a warning, from an engine of war into a monument to its consequences. The men who served aboard her are long gone, their names fading from memory, but their story endures, a tale not of glory, but of tragedy, secrecy, and the lingering poison of human ambition. Even today, the sea above her remains empty, quiet, as if the world itself pays respect to what sleeps below. The currents pass, the seasons change, and new generations sail across the same waters unaware of the ghost that lies beneath them, the submarine that never reached her destination, but still whispers through the depths. U-864 will never rise again, but she doesn't need to. Her legacy has already surfaced, in every lesson learned, in every warning remembered. The war ended long ago, but her message remains timeless: the sea forgets nothing. Beneath its waves, history still breathes, and the ghosts of the past are never truly gone.